Welcome into the shop, everybody. It's great to have you all here. I'm excited to share this video with you guys. If you're new here, I've been working on restoring a 76 Argosy Airstream for almost 2 years now. It's been a long run, and in this video we're making the interior wooden walls, and these are 7 panels that I have built that will get installed into this camper. And let me tell you, this was a lot of work, a really cool, really fun process. So we've got American red elm veneer on these walls. It's just a beautiful wood, very unique, not a very common wood, so something that really stands out and is super cool. So what I want to do in this video is show you how I made this process happen, and it all starts with a photo. We're gonna get a quick photo of this guy. There we go. So we want to take a photo so we can get the profile of the wall. That's how we'll match it to the curve of the interior. Alright, that should do. Let's get started. Okay, so before we jump too far in this video, I want to tell you about my good friends over at Simply Safe. They have been the long-time supporters of this channel, and I'm so thankful to them. This project probably would not get completed without their help. So I very much appreciate Simply Safe, and I also very much appreciate their products. They make an amazing home security system. Now, if you've been feeling worried about safety and putting off dealing with it, now's the time to act. So Simply Safe can secure your home. You just order it online, it shows up. It takes about an hour to set up the system. It protects your home 24/7. Also, you don't have to sign any contracts. You just pay month by month, and it comes out to about 50 cents a day, which really is pretty minimal to consider the safety that Simply Safe is providing. I personally like having Simply Safe because we live kind of a little bit out in the country, and when I'm out of town, Emily gets a little bit freaked out. She just feels way more comfortable knowing that she has a security system on her home to keep her safe. I like it so much that I actually have 2 systems. I have one in the house to protect my home, and I also have one in the shop. So let's go in the shop and let me show you what it looks like. The whole thing is super easy. It all works off this very nice home base and the keypad. You basically set up your sensors off of your keypad. You've got entry sensors, you've got HD cameras, got a glass break right here, water sensor here in the back door because sometimes I do get some flooding coming in the back of the shop. A motion sensor right here, got a smoke detector, which is an important part of any woodworking shop, and I've got a second HD camera at the back of the shop. This one actually has a purpose other than security. It helps me monitor my CNC. Simply Safe has a very, very nice app. I actually really enjoy using this, and I've got 2 systems. So I set up my shop system here. Look, I've got my CNC labeled camera, and there we are. Camera's on. I can use that camera not only for security because I can see most of the shop, I can also monitor my CNC while it's on if I'm in the house or not around. A very useful feature of this system. So if you're in need of home security or just monitoring of your home or woodworking shop, I'd highly recommend you check out Simply Safe. Just go to simplysafe.com/Andy Rawls to learn more. A huge thanks to them for supporting my channel, and if you guys, when you go check out Simply Safe, when you order from them, you help support me as well. Big thanks to Simply Safe. Let's move on with the video. Okay, so we got a photo of the wall. What I gotta do now is take measurements, length of it, and width, the max width, max length. Keep those in mind, and then I import that photo into SketchUp and scale it to those dimensions. So I'll mark out a guide at the length, mark out a guide at the length, at the width, and scale it in that frame. That way we get it to the proper size. And from there, I can take that and import it into VCarve and do all kinds of fancy stuff and get it into my CNC and actually CNC out the first one. That'll become my template. Now, I know a lot of you don't have access to this, and that's okay. You don't have to. You can just take that wall, put it on the sheet of plywood, and trace it and cut it out by hand. I just really like using the CNC. I'm new to it, and I'm trying to learn it and practice it. So you don't have to have a CNC to do this. Moment of truth. Too big of a gap. So the plan now is, now that I have the pattern, I'm going to take this and cut out 8 of these. There's 2 for each partition or wall. One 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 'Cause I got 4 walls to build. That'll close in my bathroom and close in this kind of bunk storage area and really get me going. This long wall here, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. It can come in last, actually. I can go ahead and set these 2 walls and then come in and put that wall in after the fact. I've also got to veneer a lot of these, so you know, several of these are going to have nice veneers on them. So we're going to have to work on that as well. So I'm going to cut these out and then start setting the veneer, laying up the veneer. That's a long process. And then from there we can build the walls. Okay, so what I'm doing here is bringing in the template we just fitted, and then I'm going to transfer the exact same profile to all of the other pieces. So we're doing 8 total, so I already have 1, so we're going to do 7. So I'm stacking up 2 1/4-inch pieces, putting my template on top, and then getting a flush trimming bit which has a bearing on top, and it just rides on that template and cuts out the bottom 2. And we'll do that 7 times, and we'll get 7 templates, and from there we can take those 7 and fit them to their individual spaces. A couple of them fit over the wheel well, so we got to cut out a section for the wheel well, and the 2 on the bunk bed side are not as deep as the 2 bathroom ones, so we've got to rip those and get them to the depth we need to fit our bunk. And then once we do that, we'll take them all into the camper and check all of them to make sure they're good to go. Heads up, I gotta see if this fits.
It really does not.
Pretty darn good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the 4 walls are kind of set. I got them where I want them. I've got them cut to the size I want them. I like the feel of the space. I think it's going to work really well. It's good to see the space. It's good to see the walls set and how it's going to feel. I think everything's good. Just got a lot of work now to do and getting veneer on all these. Now first, why veneer? I know a lot of people are like, why go through the hassle? You can find really nice plywoods, 1/4-inch plywoods with, you know, hardwood veneers. You're going to be limited on your selection. You can get walnut, oaks, you know, hickory. So you can get it, and it's going to be a lot cheaper to buy it than it is to make the veneer, obviously. I really love veneering. I think it opens up a lot of opportunities to do different things with how the grain works. You get a beautiful material selection, so the amount of veneers you can select from is pretty vast. Like, you can pick from a lot. This is the veneer here. So this is 16th inch thick veneer. This is actually a specialty thickness. Typically it comes thinner than this. And the thicker you order this, the harder it is to work with, because it's just got memory in it and it's hard to flatten. It's very challenging. Ideally, when I build furniture, I'll shop make my veneer, and I'll do it all off the bandsaw, but this is just too much veneer, too much work to make it all in the shop. And I wanted to use this red elm, and I'm not going to be able to find red elm. So this is some premium material. It's beautiful, and that is why I like veneering, because you can get this wide boards and you can get really unique woods, and the fact that we're using the red elm. And you can tell by looking behind me at how awesome these panels are that it's worth it. So if you have the ability to do it, it can really bring things up to the next level. So let me explain to you how this works. First thing you're going to need is the veneer bag. You got to have a bag. It's a press. So basically what you're going to do is you get a bag, you build a flat platform for it to sit on. It's very important that you have a flat platform. You put what's called a platen inside the bag. So I use a melamine particle board with that melamine plastic on top, and that becomes what you call a platen, and that goes in your bag. And so from there you have a perfectly flat reference line. So when you clamp something up in this bag and you squish it down against that platen, it's gonna basically create a flat board for you. If you had a curve or bow or something in that platen, it would just follow that curve or bow. So you get your veneer bag, your pump. You need a really good glue spreader, something that can evenly lay the glue. That's very, very important to get the glue down properly. You can get into a lot of problems if you don't get an even distribution of glue across your substrate. And I would argue after doing this video that I will start putting glue on my veneer as well. I was just gluing the substrate, and I think having done this quite a bit now, I will probably start putting glue on the veneer as well. That way you just know you have enough glue to get a solid glue joint throughout that whole panel. Now the first step in the process is to get your veneer out, get it sorted and organized. It's very important that you keep it together because it comes in sets, right? So it's coming from the same tree, it's all book matched, and if you start getting it all mixed up, you just kind of ruin the point of doing veneer. So you want to keep it organized, keep it in sets. So first thing you need to do is cut it to length. So I'm using my track saw. I get a kind of just maybe an inch longer than what I need to be, half inch longer, cut it to length. And then the biggest and one of the most important parts of the process is joining or edge joining these. So they don't come with straight edges. You know, they're all curved. They're curved and they're just not straight. So when you put them together and seam them, they're not going to join up. You're going to have gaps, and that's the hardest part about veneer, especially with this thicker veneer. It's really hard to seam this, and you'll see in the video that I struggled big time because it had the memory in it, and it was really hard to get that out. I had to use weights to lay it down, get it where I want it. So when I cut it, I'm doing multiple pieces, and I use my track saw to do the ends, like I said, and then we straight line the edge, tape that edge, and make sure you have all your pieces in alignment, flip it over, cut the other side. You should be measuring out to know what your width is. So I know how much width I need to get my panel with the certain amount of pieces that I'm using, if that makes sense. So I get it all edged up, then I put it up on the plywood, and now this is where the stitching is. This is actually kind of a fun process. It was really quite frustrating because of this thicker veneer. The thin veneer is going to be so much easier to work with, much easier to tape together, but it's thinner and it's less durable and you can burn through it a little bit easier. So that's why I like thicker veneer. So we get it all taped up. That's the hardest part. That tape has the ability to pull those seams together. So I just use blue tape and I'll stitch it with the tape, and then I'll run a long piece along that seam once I'm happy with it, and I just work over until I've got my whole panel covered. And once you do that, you want to move pretty quickly in getting it glued down to the panel. So we set up with our glue roller, roll on our veneer glue. I'm using Unibond 100. It works great. It's a good veneer glue. Slow setting, works great in a press, and it has very little creep to it if you're doing bent lambs or something like that. So the challenge and the struggle I had, again, this thicker veneer, was getting it down on that panel. I had to tape it around, try to get it to hold. Once you get it kind of positioned on the panel where you want it, you want to make sure you're taping it to the panel, because once you put that in the bag, the glue's slippery and it's going to want to slide. And like I said, that panel is the finished size, so if my veneer slides over off the edge of that inside the edge of that panel, there's nothing I can do. It kind of ruins the panel. So I want to make sure the veneer is hanging over on all edges of that panel. Tape it, get it in the bag, and turn on that pump and let it run for 3 or 4 hours until that glue sets up. And then you pull it out, and surprisingly you have a really nice, flat, beautiful veneer panel. I'm lucky in this step that I can run it through my wide belt. If you're doing this and you're doing a bunch of these, it's not hard to find a local cabinet shop or furniture shop and pay them, $60 to run your panels through their sander. You could also do it with an orbital, but it is going to take you a lot longer. So once you get these all veneered, you stack them up, make sure you put some weight on them, and if you're only veneering, I'm only veneering one side of the plywood because I'm going to sandwich it down to a core. If this was going to not be sandwiched to a core and it was just the 1/4 inch plywood, you would have to veneer both sides of that plywood. It was just going to potato chip on you. So for me, I got them out of the bag and immediately took them and put them on a flat surface and put a cover sheet over them and put some weight on them and just kept them there while I was working on the other panel so that they wouldn't do a bunch of craziness, because they're only veneered on one side and it's just imbalanced and it's going to move a lot. So the next step is to build out the cores. So for the cores, what I did is I took that original picture we took and I stepped in about 1/2 inch, and then I made little ribs basically out of 3/4 inch plywood on the CNC. And these are going to get that back kind of structure to the curve. So each core is built up 2 inches thick with 2-inch thick foam. It's actually about 1 7/8 inches. And so I build that up out of that plywood. I put 1/2 inch spacers in there. And then we build the frame out of just cypress. I milled the cypress to the size I needed to match the thickness of that plywood. And this is kind of a real, what I call smash and grab type work. Like, it's real quick. I'm not trying to make this pretty. It doesn't need to be, you know, really that nice, because what I'm going to do is just glue it down on both sides of this plywood. And once that's all glued together, it's a solid structure. It's super stiff, and you don't need to worry about, you know, all the strength to your core, because the plywood and the glue joint is going to create the strength. Okay, so working on the walls, working on the core here of the walls. So we've got the 1/4 inch veneered panels all set and ready to go. So what we got to do now is build the interior cores. I've been working on this first one kind of without filming, just to figure it out. And I picked the hardest one first, because I know once I get over that hurdle, I'm kind of flying, and I got it figured out now, and I think we're going to go pretty quick. So basically, we've got our CNC'd outside ribs. We did that on the CNC, just out of plywood. And then we've got to stack these up, because we want 2 inches on the inside. So I've got 2 pieces of 3/4 and then little 1/2 inch fillers in there to make it the thickness. Now, when you're dealing with plywood, it's rarely ever the correct thickness, so it's actually more like 1 7/8 inches once you stack this together. I can only get 2 inch thick foam, so luckily I was able to run the foam through the wide belt and actually thickness the foam down, which was kind of cool. It worked out really well. We're going to put this whole thing in the veneer bag with these 2 panels. So we'll cover these in glue, stack them on here, nail them in place, and then they'll go back in the bag and suck it all down really good. And it's going to make a nice flat stiff wall once the glue sets. The good thing about this stuff too, I did a little experimenting, and you can actually glue it to plywood. So this is the veneer glue, and it's glued on there pretty tight. So with this big of a glue surface, it's actually going to create a nice adhesion and glue surface for the paneling as well, which is, you know, that's pretty cool. I went ahead and pre-run, so this is one of 2 walls that has electrical, so we pre-run conduit. We pre-run conduit into it. The wires are coming out of the ceiling. They'll just go right in here when we install the wall, feed down. This is a switch here for the back bedroom lights, and then the back on the other side, we've got a 110 outlet for a TV. So I've gone ahead and just run the conduit the same, so you can fish your wire in there, get it in the box, and wire up your outlet. Also, on this one, I've got a little built-in cabinet here that's going to go in, so this will be a medicine cabinet in the bathroom with a mirror, so I left that void there for that. So we'll put glue, just like we did when we veneered. We put glue on the 2 1/4 inch panels. We'll nail those in place on the frame. I'll just use little brad nails and fill those holes later. That way we don't have to worry about taping too much, and it won't shift on us when we put it in the bag. Put a cover sheet over it, because we want to try to distribute that pressure. We don't want the bag pressing in some areas. We want to try to keep it as flat as possible. So put a cover sheet on it, slide it in the bag, let it sit for 4 or 5 hours, and finally the wall is done, minus a whole lot of sanding on all these walls. I start with 120, go 180, 220. It's really important. I mean, I'm a furniture maker, so I obsess about these details, but it's really important that you sand these really well. If you're going to put all the work and money and time into nice veneer, make sure you make it look pretty by sanding it and getting it all nice before we put finish on it. That was a long process, but now we have these awesome, beautiful walls. So what we're going to do now is head out to the Argosy. I'm going to sit them all in there. I haven't done this yet. I'm really excited about this part. We're going to put them in the camper, get them all set where they're supposed to be, take a look at how it all looks, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I plan on attaching them to the walls and floor. Okay, walls are in and they just look great. Let me share a few things with you real quick about these. So in terms of installing these, which we'll do in the next video, I'm going to set up kind of just a bracket made out of aluminum up here that we can rivet in maybe 2 or 3 places. You don't need a whole lot there. I did that here on this bench. This is just a piece of aluminum that is screwed to the back of the wood and then riveted to the side of the wall, and we can paint that. This will be hidden because there's gonna be a shelf here, but we can paint it here so you don't see it, or in some cases we can hide it back behind cabinetry. Also on the bottom, we'll do an aluminum L bracket that'll kind of drop into. So I'll put a groove in the bottom of every one of these walls, and they'll just drop into a little aluminum L bracket that's pre-installed, and that'll keep it from moving down there, and we can actually screw into that and hook ourselves up at the floor. And then we have another wall to build right here to close in this bathroom, and I'm not going to go near that thick on this wall. So these were pretty thick, and I might, if I did it all over again, I might have thinned these down a little bit. I mean, I don't mind losing the space lengthwise, but the depth of this bathroom is already so shallow that I don't want to go that thick for this wall. We'll probably go an inch or maybe even less, and it'll also keep down on the weight. These are light. I made these to be light, but they are heavier than what was originally here, obviously, because what was originally here was just flimsy piece of like 3/16 plywood. So we beefed it up. It'll make a much stronger, much better quality product, but it also adds a little bit of weight, which I'm okay with. Back here, we got the medicine cabinets. I'm going to put a wallpaper. Actually, I think I'm going to get my wife to do it because she needs to contribute, and I think she can do wallpaper. We're going to do that before we install this. So we got the wallpaper ordered. It's coming. This will be the bunk, as I told you, and she's got a little spot here to put her books. And my favorite part of everything is the back walls. They just look incredible, and the view from back here on the bed, it looks really killer. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is my favorite view here, the back on the bed, looking at this cool, pretty veneer here. It's really nice. I love the way that looks. That was worth the extra effort. It's hard to tell, but that grain flows, so it's all one piece from this one to that one. It's a lot harder to tell. I didn't realize how hard it'd be to tell, but still looks cool. I love that back view. I want to show you this real quick. This is the finished sample of varnish right here. Really pretty color to that. I just love the way this looks. Nice color. This is a total boat varnish. This is what I'm going to be using on all the woodwork on the interior. It's super durable. My kids are very rough on things, so this is going to be a great finish. It's got UV blockers in it. There's a lot of light in here that's going to, can affect the wood, so it'll be a great finish. In the next video, we'll be applying that on all the walls. We'll also be doing the wallpaper and several other things. So next video, all these walls will be permanently installed into the camper, and then we'll start building furniture inside of them. Okay folks, well that's it for this video. We got all that veneer work behind me. It feels great. It's just kind of a lot like that segmented panel. It was just a lot of tedious steps and a lot of work, but it's awesome once it's done. The interior walls look great. The whole camper just is looking good. I feel good about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a little something. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Remember, you can support my channel. I got merchandise. I've got digital plans on how to do some of this over on the website. So head on over. Feel free to check that out. A big thanks to Simply Safe for sponsoring the video. And the biggest thanks to you guys for tuning in and watching. We'll see you next time.